Hi, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. So here we are with the first chapter, our first very chapter we are doing together. It's called chapter 1, the UK tax system. Alright, so before we move into anything, you recognize as a flag of UK, right? Yes, of course you recognize that. Now, how is this chapter important from the exam point of view? So before we start each chapter, I'll give you a brief about how questions can come up from this particular chapter. Okay, so it is very much likely to come as a section A question. We already saw that section A, the 15 MCQs can anyways come from there. Areas from this question, from this particular area, questions can come in the section A. Now, section B, as such, there is very less chance that it comes as section B question. Okay, now as a part of section C question, it won't like come the entire area from this particular chapter, but it can come as subsections. It is very it is very common that subsections, like in a 15-mark question there will be A, B, C, D, E, F, many requirements. From this particular chapter it can come as a sub requirement, maybe B, C, D or E or anything like that. Alright, so this is how it is relevant from the exam point of view. Now let's look at the chapter. What all is there in the chapter? First thing we'll be seeing is the different types of taxes. What are the different types of taxes? We'll have an idea of different types of taxes. Then the purpose of tax. Why exactly do we have tax in the economy? Have you wondered why are we paying tax? We earn money using hard work. Why are we paying tax? Have you ever wondered that? So we'll see the answer to that question. Then the structure of the UK tax system. Then the sources of tax law. Alright, then we will see something about, as you see there's one more area which we will be studying. Okay, then we'll also see tax avoidance versus tax evasion. Okay, it's a very important term. Many MCQs come from that particular area. What is tax avoidance? What is tax evasion? Then there is something called as a GAAR. Then the last area, from that particular area, like I told you, subsections, sub-questions can come up from the CR question. The CR questions, sub-questions can come from there. For you to write the wordy bits, you have to type the answers. It can come from that particular area. That is ethics. As a tax accountant, as an accountant, how ethical must you be? Right? So are you ready? Let's start off. Okay. First topic. What are the different types of taxes? Okay. So let's see what all different types of taxes are there in the UK. Okay, there's the income tax, there's the NIC, then there is the value added tax, inheritance tax, corporation tax, and then there is also you can see the different types of tax. Did you know that there are these many taxes? Okay, so I hope you know what each of them means. So I'll just tell you in brief. Income tax is something that an individual pays based on their income, their profits. It's paid by individual. NIC or National Insurance Contribution, it is again a tax paid by individuals for the benefits they get from the state. Like that from the state, like from UK, like whichever country you are, the government provides pension schemes and other employment benefits. So for getting such benefits, they have to pay a tax that is called NIC. Then you see the CGT, the capital gains tax. So what capital gains tax is? You sell your business assets, right? You sell your business assets. You use the machines, but you got tired of using. You want to buy a new one. So you buy a machine. If you buy a machine, you'll sell the old one, right? So when you sell the old one, a gain will come up. Based on that gain, what is the tax you pay? It's called CGT. And also sometimes you sell off your property, your land. You sell your land and all, right? So in such transactions, also CGT comes up. Then there is something called the inheritance tax, which is a tax you have to pay on the inheritance you get from your ancestors. Then there is a corporation tax, which is what companies pay. Okay, companies pay corporation tax. Then there is the value added tax. Value added tax is basically any tax that arises on goods and services. Okay, now we have to learn something important, that is there are these many taxes. How do I classify? How do you classify this as a revenue capital tax or a direct or indirect tax? Very important. MCQs do come up from this area. So let's go to the first classification, that is revenue and capital taxes. We just saw many taxes now. How do we classify this as revenue or capital tax? Let's check it out. Okay. So first of all, what is revenue tax? Revenue tax is the tax you pay based on your income or based on the amount you earn, that is your revenue. Okay, that is revenue tax. What are the different revenue taxes? We will study about income tax, corporation tax and NIC. These are the various revenue taxes. Okay, then what is capital tax? As you see, the capital tax is the tax you pay on your wealth. There's a difference between your income and your wealth. Income is something you work for and you frequently get it. Wealth is something you have, something you inherited or something like that. What are the various capital tax we'll come across? As you see there, capital gains tax, IHT, and also corporation tax on capital gains. Okay. Now, pay close attention to this because sometimes MCQs can come up. Which of the following are revenue taxes? Which of the following are capital tax? You should be able to identify what tax is what category. Alright. Okay. Now, let's see how do we classify them as direct or indirect taxes. First of all, let's see what each of these terms means. Direct taxes means the taxes that you have to pay, directly to the government. You're paying this directly to the government. Alright, that is direct tax. Indirect taxes, you're paying the tax, but you're not directly paying it. There'll be an intermediary. Alright. Now, what are the various direct taxes we'll study? Basically, all the taxes we study are direct taxes except for one, which is value added tax. Value added tax is the only tax we're studying in the paper F6, which is an indirect tax. Remaining all other taxes are direct taxes. Alright, remaining everything else is direct taxes. Okay. Only indirect tax we are studying in paper F6, in paper tax, is the value added tax. Alright. Now, the question that we were thinking, why do we need taxation? You work so hard, you earn so much of money and you have to pay again that to the government. Why? Right? You all must be wondering why. Basically, there are three factors involved. Okay, there are some economic factors, there are some social factors, and there are some environmental factors. Let's see each of these in detail. Now, we were looking at the economic factors why there is taxation in economy. So, basically, there are three reasons, the economic factors of taxation. Okay, the first thing is, using tax, they try to control, the government controls certain things like imports, exports, inflation, and all those. So, when inflation is very high, sometimes they increase the taxes so that the people spend very less and say they save more. So, in that way, they can control inflation. Right. So, sometimes, or that is one of the reasons that the government uses taxes, and sometimes they use taxes to increase the imports, or sometimes they use it to increase the exports and all that. Then the second reason is, using tax, they influence the level of, behavior of certain people. Now, you all must be watching the budget being presented in your country every year. Right. So, if you're in India, if you're an Indian, you might see that sometimes when they present the budget, usually corporation tax is always less. The corporation tax is less, but the income tax rates are increasing. Do you know why? Corporation tax rates, when they reduce, it is encouraging more and more companies to grow. When more and more companies start up and when more and more companies start business, it boosts the economy, right? So, that is another reason why they use taxes. Then, another reason is they use taxes to encourage and discourage certain activity. Now, I have a fun activity planned for you. Okay, I'll tell you what that is. Okay, so over here you see various activities here. There is smoking, drinking, then there is saving. There are so many things here. Saving, there is marriage, civil partnership, so many activities here. What you need to do, you see the heading there. Would the government encourage or discourage the following activities by using taxation? So, I'll tell you what to do. Take a pen and a paper, okay, and draw two columns. First column, write the heading as encourage. Second column, write the heading as discourage. Okay, you need to write which of these activities will the government encourage by using tax. So, you can write in the left hand side column, which of these will the government discourage. You can write in the right hand side column. I'll give you one example. Smoking. The government will discourage it by increasing the taxes of smoke products. Yes, cigarettes and all those things. So, you need to write like that. So, just you can pause, you can write it, and you can come back. So, I hope you have written it down. You see the answers here. The answers, yes, you see the answers here. What all activities will they discourage? You see there smoking they discourage. That the answer I already told you. Then motoring, that is, to reduce pollution, sometimes they increase the tax on, traveling and petrol and all these things. Okay. Then what are the activities they encourage? They encourage marriages and civil partnerships, savings, you see, and charities and all those things. So, very good if you got the correct answer, you just need to use the logic. Alright. So, we now saw the economic reasons why taxation exists in an economy. Let's see some of the social factors. Now, sometimes for the purpose of redistribution of income and wealth, that is, they use taxation to ensure that the rich people don't get richer and the poor people get more poorer. To ensure that doesn't happen, they use tax. How? Okay, the social effects of various tax. Direct taxes. What is the social effect? Direct taxes ensures that people with more tax, only the people who have tax have to pay. Then indirect taxes. It's actually control your consumption. If you actually consume a lot of products, you have to pay a lot of indirect tax, which is VAT. Then progressive tax. Okay, progressive taxes means your tax rates increase as your income increases. So progressive taxes ensure that the richer you get, the more tax you pay. That is one of the social effects of tax. Then another one is capital gains tax. Do you know why capital gains tax exists? There are some people, if there is no capital gains tax, they will make a living out of selling their capital wealth. They will sell their land and all those things because it is not their income, it's their wealth. So if they sell all that, they'll be basically having zero income. Yeah, that's not fair. You have to pay tax. You have to definitely pay tax on it. Okay, so these are various social reasons why taxation exists. Now, let's look at the environmental reasons, environmental factors behind tax. Okay, some of the environmental reasons why tax exists. As you see there, basically, there is landfill tax, and also there is for your CO2 emissions there are taxes, for climate changes there are taxes. Okay, so some of the environmental factors are considered. That is, to control pollution, sometimes the government uses taxes. That is, when you buy a car, if it is a high pollution emission car, you'll have to pay more tax. Why? Because thinking about that, you'll probably think of choosing a car that has a lower pollution rate, so that you can save your taxes. So that's in that way they can, climate change and all those important things in the world, it can actually be taken care of. Okay, so these are the various things to consider. Now we are moving on to the next topic, structure of the UK tax system. Okay, so there are basically in this structure there are three things you need to see. Her Majesty's Treasury. Who is this her? Who is her? Is it me? No, it's not me. It is a queen, Queen of England. So Her Majesty's Treasury, then HMRC, Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, then CPS, which is Crown Prosecution Services. Alright. So what each of this, Her Majesty's Treasury, basically that is where all the taxes we pay go into. All the taxes, and your UK citizen or UK tax, if you pay, it goes to the Treasury. That's where it collects. HMRC, Her Majesty Revenue and Customs, it is the administrative, it is the administrative function. It performs the administrative function. Alright, HMRC, they perform the administrative function, writing down the taxes and all these things, HMRC. We'll study more about that, but you will come across this thing called HMRC a lot in your syllabus areas. Then there is the CPS, Crown Prosecution Services. Basically, you've heard of income tax raids and all that, yeah? So if you do a lot of malpractice with regard to paying your taxes, or you do a crime by not paying your tax, or by evading tax or anything like that, Crown Prosecution Services are responsible to file a penalty and all those things. Okay, so this is basically the structure of the UK tax system. Okay, now next thing we're going to see is the tax tribunals. Okay, that is, sometimes the HMRC or the CPS, they can actually tell that you did something wrong, you evaded tax. They can actually fine a penalty for you, but you want to appeal against it. You can appeal against it. First tribunal is where all the usual cases, the simple cases go to. More complex cases and cases appealed from the first tribunal goes to the upper tribunal. Alright? Okay. Then the next thing is sources of tax law. That is, have you ever wondered, now if they say the tax rate is 20% for income, how do they decide 20%? Based on what? How do they decide? What law? Yeah, we'll see that. Now, do you recognize who this person is? This smart person? He is called Mr. Rishi. He is a very famous person. I hope you know who this is. Okay, I'll talk to you about who that is. Okay, so basically there are the sources of tax law. Okay, we get the tax law from three main sources. First is the statute law, then there is a case law, then there is the HMRC guidance. Okay, so what is statute law? Statute law means the Chancellor of Exchequer. So basically Mr. Rishi, he is the Chancellor of Exchequer of the UK. You see, he is an Indian. Okay, so he is the Chancellor of Exchequer. Okay, so this person, so what he does is basically, you know, in this in the parliaments and all these things, they pass many laws, by law, basically he actually authorizes it. Okay, so statute law is the law created by the higher authorities. Okay, it is actually a law. That is one of the ways in which tax laws are made. Second one is called case law. Case law means, you know, based on previous court cases, certain laws, certain new laws come up. So that is one of the places from where, you know, laws come up. Third one is called HMRC guidance. HMRC themselves provides, you know, some guidance. Okay, now let me show you something. Let's look into detail a little more about HMRC guidance. Okay, now you see this person, he's going crazy, right? So that is how normal people feel when they look at the tax laws. They're like, this is too much, we don't understand anything. Okay, so the HMRC is there at your rescue. So do you know what is HMRC guidance? HMRC basically provides guidance as to what exactly a tax law is, and they interpreted it for you. Right, so let's look into detail about what HMRC guidance, the various HMRC guidances. Okay, now this can come as exam. They might ask you which of the following are sources of tax law. What is statement of practice? Statement of practice is basically the HMRC itself, they try to explain, they gave an interpretation of the tax law. That is statement of practice. Then there are some internal HMRC manuals, which are the staff of HMRC themselves can refer to these manuals as to how to calculate taxes, whether they have to pay tax and all those things for the staff. Then there is the extra statutory concessions. Okay, that is, in certain cases, there are certain situations in which you don't have to strictly follow the tax law. Extra statutory concessions are basically some guidance is given by the HMRC, wherein in which all situations you don't have to strictly follow the tax law. Then there is the HMRC website and the booklets. There is HMRC website and the booklets. Okay, their website and all, where they can see all the information is accessible for everybody. Then there is a detailed technical guidance. Alright, so this is what HMRC, this is the guidance provided by the HMRC. Now, let's move on to the next topic, which is UK tax system and other tax system interactions. Now, you see many flags there, right? Are you able to identify what's common? Are you able to identify? What is that? Did you just tell me they are part of EU, European Union? Then correct, that is correct. Okay, so have you ever wondered why exactly are all these countries part of European Union? Now, by the way, as of today, whenever you're watching this video, can I ask you, is UK a part of the EU, European Union? No. UK has already exited the EU. Brexit has happened. But for the tax sittings that you're sitting, you have to assume, you know, the examining team has given you, you know, proper advice that you have to behave, or you have to write your answers as if Britain or UK is already a part of EU. Okay, so for the sittings of your June 2020, so June, September, December 2020 and March 2021, UK is a part of EU as far as the tax paper is concerned. Now, why exactly do countries form a part of EU? There are many reasons. That is, while doing export and import, there are many advantages that can happen, and there is something called directives, as in when two member states, like Spain and Italy, let's say for example, they both are having many business dealings, like they have many imports, exports happening. They can create directives or common laws which will benefit both of them. If there are two tax rates, they can create a directive which will be common for all transactions between Italy and France, or Italy and Spain. Alright, then also in the case of VAT, value added tax, there are some special advantages because of being a part of EU. When we study the chapter for VAT, you will see what that is. Alright, okay, now let's come into a very important term called double taxation agreements. That is, sometimes one person has income in another country and he is not a citizen of that country. I'll give you one example. You see the smart looking person here. So he is basically a person who has some income from, let's say, Japan. Okay, he has a business in Japan. So he has a business in Japan, the profits he gets from there, he pays the tax in Japan. Okay, now he is a UK citizen. So should he pay tax in Japan as well as pay tax, you know, in the UK? Is that how it is? No. That is why double taxation agreements are there. That is, if there is a double taxation agreement between Malaysia and UK, that means whatever income this person earns from Malaysia, he only has to pay the tax in Malaysia, not in UK also. So that doubly, he is not paying tax double, he is not paying 2 times tax. That is double taxation agreements. Alright. Now, coming into a very, very important term called tax evasion and tax avoidance. Okay. Now, what is tax evasion? What is tax avoidance? Tax evasion means the illegal way in which you actually skipping taxes. Tax avoiding is a legal way. So, as I had already mentioned, it's very important to remember, tax evasion is illegal, whereas tax avoidance, it is legal. Keep that in mind. Now, let's see in detail what exactly tax evasion is. Okay, tax evasion actually happens in 2 ways. You're purposely suppressing some information. Okay, you're suppressing some or you're hiding some information. Why? So that because of that information you don't have to pay extra tax. Or the information you're providing, you're deliberately providing false information. Instead of 1 million, you're writing as 100,000. So how much of taxes you can save, right? So that is tax evasion. So in these 2 ways tax evasion happens. What is the problem of doing tax evasion? First of all, remember, it is illegal. If it is a minor case and they find out, you have to pay fines. But if it is a major case, that is huge amounts, if you are skipping taxes, then it is actually a crime. You know, criminal prosecution services will come behind you. Okay, so that is one of the problems of tax evasion. Alright. Now, let's look at what tax avoidance is. As I had already mentioned, tax avoidance is actually legal. It is very much legal. Tax avoidance means some, straightforward ways of avoiding tax. Sometimes you go to some business consultants or tax consultants, especially so that you know how you can save your tax. They are very much specialized. Tax consultants, because they know the tax law very well, they know in what all areas you can reduce your tax. So, tax avoidance means a legal way of reducing your tax. Basically, there will be some loopholes in the laws. So, using those loopholes, you will actually, avoid tax. Some examples of tax avoidance. Okay. Now, how is this important for your exam? Now, sometimes they might ask you like this, that is, which of the following are legal? So, always you have to remember, if any of the examples are relating to tax avoidance, it is legal. It is legal. If it is tax evasion, it is illegal. Some examples are, you get certain reliefs or you get certain deferrals. Deferrals means you don't have to pay tax in this year, you have to pay only in the next year. That is tax avoidance. Then maybe you get some deductions. You see, all these are various examples of your tax avoidance. Alright. Now, there is something that we have to look into, which is called GAAR, General Anti-Abuse Rule. Okay. Now, General Anti-Abuse Rule. Now, let me tell you something. Giving one example will help you understand this. That is, do you know that for, you all must be purchasing things from Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra and all that. So, there are some people who do this. That is, they order a phone. Okay. Let's say they order AirPods. Okay. They order AirPods and then they get the AirPods, but they claim that they did not get the AirPods, they got some stones. So what do they do? There is a refund policy for all such Amazon, Flipkart and all. You know that well, right? So what happens is, they'll take the AirPods and they'll actually keep something else inside and say, this is what I got, I want my refund back. So you see, they're abusing that, refund policy. You see, they're abusing that. So General Anti-Abuse Rule is actually, done so that you don't take undue advantages by avoiding tax. Tax avoidance is legal, that is correct, but general anti-abuse rules exist so that you don't abusively take advantage of, undue advantage and avoid tax to an unintended way. You see there? Unintended results. If you're avoiding tax in such a way, it leads to unintended results, or you're actually skipping taxes in a very unexpected way. In that case, General Anti-Abuse Rule can sue you. Alright, there is a General Anti-Abuse Rule which ensures that you don't take undue advantage of taxes. Now, remember something, you're an ACCA, you're studying this basically to become an ACCA. You have to be an ethical and a professional accountant. Okay. So, although in the future, let's say you're taking up a tax, let's say you're very interested in the paper tax. I hope all of you will be interested. Okay, you will be interested, it's very interesting. So, let's say that you take up the paper tax and you want to become a tax specialist, a tax consultant. Now, although you will be preparing, tax returns for your clients, they are the ones who are responsible for paying tax. You are just preparing the returns for them. Okay, when you're preparing the returns, you will have access to all the information they give you. So you will come across situation. You see there, one day that could be you. You could ask, is the information given to me really honest? Since you know all the laws, you will be able to quickly identify when a person skips or when a person avoids, when something's very fishy. You can find out when a person is trying to avoid certain receipts, maybe certain receipts or certain invoices they might not be having. When you check the returns, you might feel like something is missing. The person appears to be very rich, but in his tax returns, the income is very less. So you might be having a feeling, is this really honest? Okay. Now remember something, if you are to be a professional accountant, there are some qualities that you need to have. One is professional judgment. That is, you should use your understanding in a very professional way to decide whether a particular situation is, suspicious or not. Professional judgment. Then honesty. You should be very much straightforward. You should not lie, or you should not listen to lies, or you should not actually give in when a person asks you to lie in your tax returns. In the tax returns you're preparing. Objectivity. Objectivity means whatever you prepare must be free of bias. Even if your client is your best friend, it should be objective. You should be very much, free from bias, not like he's my best friend, let me try to reduce his tax for him. No, you have to follow the rules also. Then the next thing is integrity. Integrity and honesty are very much, interchangeable. Integrity means again being straightforward. Okay. Then due care and diligence, that is, you should be knowing all the laws, all the tax laws you should be knowing. So these are some qualities that an accountant as such must be having. Okay, but in some situations when you feel like there is something fishy, that is, they have done something wrong, in such situations there are two things that you need to do. Okay, that is, when an accountant learns of a material error or omission and a failure to file, when the person does not show it in the tax return, basically there are two things you need to do. Advise the client of the error, omission or failure. Once you find out that something is wrong, you found out something is wrong, they have omitted something or there is an error, you have to let them know, you have to let your client know there is an error. Okay, and then next thing is recommend them to change it, recommend them to disclose this to HMRC. Okay, now it is not necessary that they always listen to you. Okay, maybe they avoided or maybe they omitted it for them to save taxes. So it's not necessary that your client listens to you. Your client might say, please, this is my returns, please you do your job, I'll just pay you for whatever it is. If you avoid this, if you close your eyes to whatever malpractice I did, I'll pay you extra. You might be having a family, your job is very important to you, you're very confused. Okay. So actually what the law says you do is, if they still do not disclose this to HMRC, if they are still not listening to you, do you know what you're supposed to do? First of all, you need to tell your client the consequences. That is, if HMRC finds out about this, what are the consequences? You should let them know. And what you should see is, if it is a material amount, that is, you come to know that they avoided such a huge amount. If they avoided such a huge amount, then you need to actually think about leaving the client and leaving basically that engagement, that particular engagement you are in. It is better to leave, because if he gets caught, you'll also get caught. Okay. And there are some other options. In spite of doing all this, still if they don't listen to you, what you basically need to do is, you need to write and say that you are no more acting for the client. You also need to let HMRC know that you are no more doing their returns. You don't have to write the reason, that is their responsibility to write. Okay, and then something else important you need to do is, there is a money laundering officer in all organizations. So you need to let the money laundering officer know why you left, that is your client is doing some malpractice. You need to let them know, because if they're doing some money laundering, okay, they're getting some black money or they're doing something illegal and they're hiding it, okay, in terms of tax, in that case you have to let them know. So these are a few things that you need to keep in your mind. From these areas, exam questions can come up, theory questions. All right. So this brings us to an end of chapter 1, okay, UK tax system. I hope this was helpful for you to understand the concepts. All right. So we'll see each other in the next chapter. So signing off is your ACCA tutor for paper tax, Zen Ruby. So see you.